Are you ready to acknowledge Mel Tucker has bypassed Jim Harbaugh and we're about to own Michigan in recruiting as well as on the field? Ted, I appreciate the enthusiasm. Where are we right now? In the state of Michigan, Spartans, Wolverines, where are we? What is the dynamic right now? Well, you probably remember last year Michigan State beat Michigan. What you may not remember is the year before they did as well. There's this weird thing. I suffer from it too, where you only remember Mel Tucker being 1-0 against Harbaugh. He's 2-0 against him. The year before, I guess people's attention was kind of fractured. Maybe it wasn't totally on college football. Mel Tucker's 2-0 against Jim Harbaugh right now. And it's impossible to deny the current energy around the Spartan program. Now, have they overtaken Michigan? Has Mel Tucker overtaken Jim Harbaugh? No, it's too early to say that. Of course, it's too early to say that. For instance, right now, and this doesn't mean a whole lot because of what the calendar says, right now, yeah, Michigan State, 11th ranked recruiting class in the country. They're coming off a really big week. Michigan, conversely, 35th in the country. A lot of their momentum, they believe, is still in the future. They still believe they've got a majority of this class to come, and they eventually will come. But let's not forget now, just this past cycle, Michigan finished top 10, and Michigan State was in the mid-20s. So it's not like we have a definitive picture of what's happening here. But as I say that now, what does it feel like? It feels like this should be the point, coming off a Big Ten championship and coming off a playoff appearance where Michigan should be rolling in recruiting. And they're not. The temperature around recruiting around Michigan has been, I guess, best described as lukewarm. Now, here's what they would tell you. Some, not they in totality, some people around Michigan would tell you, brother, it is June 19th. Have some patience. Alabama's ranked in the 40s right now in recruiting. So it's not where you are in June, it's where you end up. That's valid. You don't have to tell me that. I've been around this thing for quite a while. I get that. I know Alabama's going to finish top 5. I don't know Michigan is going to have a run down the stretch like they should have. To be clear again, they're coming off doing some things we have never seen them do. I mean, people like me have watched Michigan recruit pretty well and always thought to myself, as soon as they knock off Ohio State, and especially if they win the Big Ten and they go to playoff in the process, that next recruiting cycle will be on fire. Well, it just hasn't been. Why hasn't it been? I think it'd be foolish to pretend like Harbaugh's flirtation with the NFL isn't a factor here. Now, how good are they going to be on the field this fall is a totally different question than is this affecting recruiting? Because Jim Harbaugh, if he's checked back in, which I have every reason to believe he is, and if they're all in, singular focus, which I have every reason to believe they are, they'll be fine on the field this fall. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about recruiting. And namely, why has it been so average so far to start this cycle? The reason is because it matters. You can sell yourself all you want to on the feel-good, cozy, oh, Harbaugh's ours now and he's not going anywhere. Maybe he won't. But it's impossible to erase from people's memories he tried to get out. And the only reason he couldn't get out is because that team in Minnesota, being the Vikings, didn't want him. So if I'm a recruit and I see that, then I'm not stupid. I know what I saw. But then it doesn't help when I've got other staffs coming in my living room and reminding me of it. That matters. It'd be foolish to think it doesn't matter. The only question is, how much will it matter in this cycle? And I don't think you can know that right now. You won't know until after signing day. Michigan will finish wherever they finished. And if they finish top 10, we'll know it's a non-factor. But if they finish 23rd, you'll start to get some intel, and Sam Webb will be over on the Michigan Insider, and he'll be giving you scoop on the class and how it did and didn't come together, and you'll start to get quotes from players. And slowly but surely, you'll hear them say, in that scenario, I just had some uneasiness about the future of the program. So it'll matter. I just don't know how much it'll matter. But here's the thing. Normally, this conversation would be happening in a vacuum. And Michigan State would just be Michigan State. Michigan State's not just Michigan State anymore. The smoke there is real. There is no illusion to this. They're not going anywhere. And folks in the Big Ten are kind of halfway aggravated about it because they've already gotten used to the idea Ohio State's going to own us in recruiting. And Penn State's going to be pretty good, and Michigan's going to be pretty good to really good. If I'm in the Big Ten, have no interest in adding Michigan State to that equation. But they're there. And next to Ohio State, There is no more tenacious recruiting operation happening in the Big Ten right now than in East Lansing, Michigan. They're getting after it. And when Mel Tucker came in there, he told you what he was going to do. When Mel Tucker got to Michigan State, he said, we're going to recruit nationally. We have to recruit nationally. If we want to get where we want to go, we can't be a regional recruiter. We've got to be a national recruiter because we got a national vision. And a lot of people laughed at him. Why? Because he was selling you on the fact that he was going to do something we've never seen Michigan State do. When you go up there, you go to games. I was texting back and forth with a guy who played there in the 60s when I was at the Michigan game. And I'm looking at those banners and those national championships they won in a very bygone era. If you're my age or if you're younger than me, since then, though, the sport has evolved. And a lot of folks thought it had left Michigan State behind. It hadn't. Like I say with Tennessee all the time, and like I'm saying with Michigan State right now, like you can say about Dabo at Clemson, there is a world at many programs out there where they can be a national championship contender. Now, the formula is different depending on where your pinpoint on the map is. You have to get the right confluence of events. Mel Tucker at Michigan State at just the right time, it was the right confluence of events. And unlike some other places where it's kind of lightning in a bottle and then he's off to a bigger program, Mel Tucker already had his deal virtually finalized by the time LSU would have ever come calling. And Mel Tucker's getting paid astronomical amounts of money. Here's the other good part. I think it was Rittenberg at ESPN that had a really good feature about Michigan State this past week. Michigan State has the good fortune that some of the biggest money around the program is held by former athletes. You know what that means? It means you don't have someone who's made a fortune in things that have nothing to do with sports whatsoever, all of a sudden throwing money around and wanting their say, even though they haven't the slightest clue how things operate. When your own athletes are the ones going out there and getting rich and therefore able to write a check, they know real when they see it. Former players, current players, folks who know ball, they know real when they talk to it. And you don't have to be around Mel Tucker too long to know he's about as real as it gets. And that stuff happening at Michigan State right now. It's about as real as it gets. And I would not be surprised if they end up putting up a number in recruiting rankings this year that rubs a lot of people up there the wrong way, makes a lot of people uneasy, and it probably puts a little more heat on Michigan than previously would have been there. Now, they don't need a rival at Michigan. They've already got Ohio State doing what Ohio State's been doing. But now, whereas they've already come to accept that Ohio State's going to be a power, if that Spartan logo all of a sudden starts putting up a bigger number than they do, and they extend to 3-0 or 4-0 on them, no, that's not something that's going to be tolerated in Ann Arbor, nor should it be. So this is going to be something to watch. If you're a fan of UTSA, if you're a road runner, but you want some national storyline to watch Michigan State off the field in recruiting and just on the field this fall, because we get to see them play every single year.